The second I walked through the door, I knew something was off. It was way too quiet. No music. No TV. Just the sound of a zipper and the smell of her vanilla body spray lingering in the hallway. I dropped my keys on the counter and stepped into the bedroom. Lindsay was hunched over the bed, stuffing clothes into that old gray gym duffel she used for weekend trips. Her face was blank, like this was just another task on her to-do list. "What's going on?" I asked. She didn't look up. "I'm staying at Abby's for a bit." I blinked. "Abby? Your cousin?" "Yeah, just for a few weeks. I need space." My stomach dropped. Space from what? What the hell does that mean? She zipped the bag and stood up, arms crossed like she was bracing for a storm. "It means I need time to think. Everything's been a fight lately. You've been smothering me, controlling. I can't breathe." Controlling? I'd been working 10-hour shifts at the shop and barely had energy to eat dinner, let alone play puppet master. "You're serious? This is how you do it? Just walk out with no warning?" "I'm not asking for permission," she snapped. "I'm telling you, I need time. Away from this." "This? What the hell is this? We've been together 8 years, Lindsay. You don't just hit pause like it's nothing." She slung the duffel over her shoulder and pushed past me. "I don't owe you a debate. I've made my decision." "You're really gonna leave like this?" I said, following her into the living room. No conversation, no hug, not even a goodbye. She didn't even flinch, just grabbed her keys off the hook and headed for the door. "Lindsay." "Nothing." She walked out like I was a stranger, like 8 years meant nothing. I stood there frozen for a few seconds, then finally shut the door. The click echoed through the apartment like a gunshot. That night was the quietest I'd ever heard the place. I kept glancing at the hallway, expecting to hear her heels clicking in or her voice asking what I wanted for dinner. But nothing came. I sat on the couch, staring at the black TV screen, phone in my hand, and still nothing. She didn't text, didn't call, just gone. I stared at my phone until 2 in the morning, waiting for her to text. She didn't. Saturday dragged. I cleaned the kitchen just to stay busy, changed the sheets, tried watching a movie but couldn't even get through 20 minutes without checking my phone again. Around 6 I caved. "You okay?" I typed. It sat on delivered for hours. At 10:42, just as I was about to fall asleep on the couch, she replied, "Fine." One word. No punctuation. No follow-up. Sunday I called. Straight to voicemail. I waited an hour, then texted again. "Just wanted to hear your voice. Hope you're doing okay." Another 2 hours passed before she hit back with, "Stop smothering me." That one punched me right in the ribs. I just stared at the screen for a full minute, trying to keep my jaw from locking up. "Understood," I wrote, and that was it. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I muted her number, shut off location sharing, removed her as my emergency contact. She'd been listed as that since I was 23. Monday morning came and I expected to feel worse. I figured I'd be dragging ass at the shop, distracted, snapping at people. But it was the opposite. I woke up early. No pressure. No second-guessing what kind of mood I'd be walking into. No checking my tone, watching my words. Nothing. I made coffee exactly how I like it. Strong as hell, with the creamer she always complained made the fridge smell sweet. Fried eggs and sausage in the pan, not one of those yogurt parfaits she always pushed on me. TV was still playing something dumb from the night before, but I didn't care. I sat down and actually enjoyed eating in silence. No commentary, no debates, just me and my plate. I opened up the weather app, checked the forecast, and thought, you know what? Screw it. I'm ordering from Ray's Barbecue for lunch. She used to wrinkle her nose and say it was too heavy, said it made the car smell like grease for days. Whatever. I drove down, picked up a brisket sandwich with extra slaw and beans, and ate it in the parking lot like a king. Sauce all over my hands. Music blasting. Felt peaceful. Weird, but peaceful. I pulled back into the driveway and just sat in my truck for a second. Took a deep breath and didn't feel like I was carrying an anchor on my chest. No eggshells. No guesswork. No fake smiles. That night, I didn't check my phone once. Next day after work, I sent Marcus a text out of nowhere. "You still alive, man?" He replied in under a minute. "Barely. Wanna grab a beer this week?" We settled on Thursday night. Bar called O'Malley's. Used to be our go-to before Lindsay started hating how loud and greasy it was. I hadn't set foot in there in over a year. Soon as I walked in, it hit me. Same beat-up dartboards, same sticky floors, same old jukebox playing 90s rock way too loud. Marcus was already at the bar, nursing a tall Bud Light, wearing that faded hoodie he refused to throw away. "Look who crawled out of hibernation," he said, grinning as we clapped hands. "Had to remind myself I had a life before meal prep and decorative pillows," I said, sliding onto the stool beside him. He laughed. "So, Lindsay," he kept it short. "She's staying with family. Needed space." That was it. He didn't ask more, just nodded and flagged the bartender for another round. That's what I'd always liked about Marcus. He knew when to shut up. We talked about work, the Cowboys, how awful the local pizza place had gotten. After the second beer, I looked up at the TV above the bar and realized I hadn't thought about Lindsay in over an hour. Felt like my brain had stretched out for the first time in weeks. Friday morning at the shop, I was halfway under a Camry when Kendra poked her head around the lift. "You look lighter," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "What's that mean?" She shrugged. "I dunno. Just different. Not all wound up." I didn't answer, just smiled a little and went back to work. By Saturday, I deleted all our texts. Not out of anger, just done replaying that crap in my head. I stopped checking her socials. Stopped checking my phone altogether, honestly. I started going back to the gym, the old one off Highway 8, with busted treadmills and metal fans that always squeaked. Place smelled like sweat and rubber, and I loved it. Put on my old lifting playlist and got to work like I hadn't missed a beat. Felt good. Not happy exactly, but solid. Like putting on a jacket you forgot you owned. And it still fits. Picked up a few old routines too. Cooking Sunday breakfast, watching fights on pay-per-view. Even ran the old trail near the water plant I used to hit before work. Midweek, I got a text from an unfamiliar number. It was her mom. "Hey, just checking in. Everything okay with you and Lindsay?" I stared at the message for a few seconds before typing back. She asked for space. I'm giving it. No extra details. No drama. Just the truth. She didn't reply and I didn't chase. That night, I grilled steak for one, cracked a beer, and sat on the patio listening to the wind blow through the alley. Not perfect. Not painless. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like mine. I was scraping the grill and finishing my beer when Marcus texted. "Poker night Friday. You in?" I hadn't seen those guys in forever. Not since Lindsay started making it a whole thing every time I stayed out late. The guilt trip, the questions, the cold shoulder the next day. It wasn't worth it back then. Now, no one was waiting up. No one was keeping score. "I'm in," I typed. Friday rolled around, and I pulled up to Tyler's house with a six-pack and $20 in cash. Inside, it was like I'd stepped back into a time capsule. Folding table, mismatched chairs, music low, guys already talking trash over bags of chips and pretzels. "Damn, look who finally escaped the warden," Tyler joked, pulling me into a half-hug. "Parole came through," I said, grinning. I sat down and didn't even think to check my phone. For once, I wasn't watching the time, wondering if someone was going to blow up my messages with, "When are you coming home?" Or, "You didn't say how long you'd be." Felt good, better than I expected. That night, I slept like a rock. No weird tension. No waking up in the middle of the night from some dream where we were arguing in circles. Just sleep. Real sleep. Next morning, I didn't rush through breakfast. I sat with my coffee, watched a dumb car rebuild video on YouTube. Then something clicked. There was this welding class I'd been eyeing at the rec center for over a year. Intro-level, Tuesday nights, 8 weeks long. I always wanted to try it, but Lindsay thought it was a waste of time. Said I had enough on my plate. I signed up right then. Paid in full. Monday at work, I noticed I was more dialed in. No dragging. No zoning out. I knocked out 2 diagnostics before lunch and still had time to help Matt with a tricky wiring issue on an old Ford. Even Wesley, the sales guy who barely said more than, "Hey, on a good day," leaned over during break and said, "You free to grab lunch sometime this week?" I looked at him for a second, confused. Yeah, sure." He nodded. "Cool. Let me know." It hit me later that kind of stuff never happened before. Back then, I was always in a rush, glued to my phone, dealing with whatever drama was brewing at home. Tuesday night, I showed up to the welding class early, hands in my hoodie pocket, watching the instructor unpack metal sheets and gloves. Mostly guys like me, working class, quiet, just looking to do something different for a change. When I lit the torch for the first time, felt that heat and saw the spark hit the steel, I grinned. First real grin in a while. Midweek, I got another text, this time from her aunt, the nice one. "Just checking in. Hope you're doing okay. If you need anything, I'm here." No judgment, no guilt tripping, just simple and clean. I stared at it longer than I should have, then just replied, "Appreciate that. I'm all right." That was it. By Friday, I had my whole weekend planned: gym, welding class, maybe catch a game at Marcus's place. For once, it didn't feel like I was trying to fill space. I wasn't killing time waiting for someone to decide if I was worth coming back to. I wasn't happy, not yet, but I wasn't anxious, wasn't doubting myself every 5 minutes. I was steady, clear, calm. 3 weeks in and not a single word from Lindsay. No texts, no calls, no just checking in. Total silence. I figured that meant she was committed to her decision. Fine by me. I stopped looking over my shoulder. Thursday night, I was in the garage cleaning up some tools when a message popped up from an unfamiliar number. "Hey man, it's Drew, Abby's husband. Just thought you should know. She's been asking about you." I stared at the message for a second, then wrote back, "She knows how to reach me." That's all I said. I wasn't getting pulled into some second-hand communication game. If she wanted to talk, she had my number. Next day at the shop, I was loading a tire onto the balancing machine when Kendra leaned against the workbench with her usual iced coffee. She looked me up and down and said, "You're like a new man lately. Whatever you're doing, it's working." I wiped the grease off my hands and shrugged. "I just stopped stressing over stuff I can't control." She smiled, nodded, then headed back to her bay. Friday around noon, my phone buzzed again. This time I recognized the number. Lindsay's mom. "She's upset you haven't reached out." I almost laughed. Upset? I stared at that message like it was a prank. After a second, I typed back, "She told me not to. I'm listening." Didn't say more. Didn't ask questions. I stuck to what was true. Saturday came and I was back at welding class. Gloves on, helmet down, focused. Instructor walked by as I was working on my first real project. A fire pit. Just a basic one, square frame, nothing fancy. Still, he watched for a minute and said, "You got a feel for this." Natural touch. I nodded and kept welding, but inside, that meant more than I wanted to admit. I hadn't heard anything like that in years. Something positive, something that had nothing to do with being a boyfriend or a fixer. Just me. After class, I grabbed tacos from the place next door and was halfway through scarfing one down in my truck when Marcus called. "Yo, what are you doing next weekend?" "Not sure yet." "Why?" "Thinking of having people over. Just a small cookout." "You in?" I didn't even hesitate. "Yeah, I'm in." "Cool. I'll text you details." I hung up and leaned back in the seat, window cracked, warm air rolling in. Felt good to say yes to something without checking with anyone first. Without wondering if I'd have to explain it, justify it, or trade for it later. That moment, truck still running, fingers still smelling like tortillas and steel. It hit me. Whatever this was turning into, it felt real. Monday morning, I was stuck in a meeting with upper management, numbers, projections, the usual corporate fluff. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. Then again. Then it wouldn't stop. I let it ride. I wasn't about to pull my phone out in front of the regional VP just because someone couldn't wait. When the meeting finally ended, I stepped outside into the sunlight and checked my screen. 64 texts. All from Lindsay. First one just said, Hey, then, are you free? Why aren't you answering me? Where are you? This is crazy. Then came the rapid-fire ones. Seriously, I need to talk to you. Why are you doing this? I stared at the screen, heart rate steady. No panic. No guilt. Just clarity. I typed back. You asked me not to contact you. I respected that. What changed? A minute later, she called. I hit decline. Sent a follow-up. At work. Can't talk now. She didn't like that. Another wave came in. You've changed. You don't even care. Is this how 8 years ends? I didn't answer. Not yet. I got through the rest of my shift, took my time packing up, then drove to the grocery store. Grabbed stuff for dinner. Nothing fancy, steak, sweet potatoes, a 6-pack. I got home, grilled, ate slow, even cleaned the kitchen before calling her back. She answered on the first ring. Her voice came in sharp, emotional, already on edge. You just ignored me all day? She said. You read everything and said nothing? I told you. I was working. You could have taken a second to call me back. You always used to. I kept my tone calm. You asked for space, Lindsay. You said I was smothering you. I gave you what you asked for. Silence on the other end. I thought you'd fight for me, she finally said, quieter. I thought you'd care enough to not let me go. I did fight for you. That night, you told me you were leaving. You said you needed time. I didn't beg, because you made it clear you didn't want me to. Another pause. Then, barely above a whisper. So what now? You wanted space. I gave it. You didn't want me checking in, I didn't. So if you want to talk, fine. But it's gonna be on equal ground. Okay, she said. Can we meet? Public place? I said flat. Tomorrow. 6. Let's not make it messy. Okay. Where? The cafe off Fremont. You know the one. She agreed. Voice still shaky, but she didn't argue. I hung up, set the phone face down, and cracked open a beer. No shaking hands. No second guessing. Just the sound of the fridge humming, and my own breathing finally quiet. Tuesday afternoon, I was finishing up a break job when my radio crackled. Reception's asking for you. Someone's in the lobby. I wiped my hands, expecting a parts delivery. The second I turned the corner and saw security waving me down, I knew. Something in his face said not business. She says she's your fiancée? He said low. She's upset. I looked past him. There she was, Lindsay, sitting on the edge of the lobby couch, red-eyed, knees bouncing, a balled-up tissue in her hand. I exhaled through my nose. Give me a sec. I walked in, nodded at the receptionist, and motioned for Lindsay to follow me. I led her to the side office near the vending machines, mostly storage, but quiet enough for a conversation. Soon as I shut the door, she broke. I couldn't wait, she said, voice cracking. I needed to see you. I couldn't sleep last night. I've been sick to my stomach. I stayed standing. She didn't. I needed to talk now, she rushed on. I couldn't sit around and pretend like this wasn't eating me alive. You showed up at my job, Lindsay, I said, calm but firm. That's not okay. I didn't know what else to do. You've been so cold. Like I don't even exist to you anymore. You told me to stop smothering you, to give you space. That's what I did. She stood now, eyes wide, makeup smudged. You should have tried. I did. The night you left, I begged you to talk. You shut it down. You told me this wasn't a debate. But I was hurt. No, you were done. You made it clear. So I backed off. That's called respecting someone's boundaries. Her jaw clenched. You think this is easy for me? I was waiting to see if you cared enough to come back. I blinked. So this was a test? She didn't answer. I pointed to the glass wall behind her. A few employees stood on the other side, pretending not to stare. I lowered my voice. This isn't the place for this. We agreed on the cafe. Tonight. She turned toward the glass, then back at me, realizing. Her shoulders dropped. I'm sorry, she said, voice small now. I'll see you at 6, I said. Not before. She opened her mouth like she might argue, but stopped. I walked to the door, opened it, and waited. She stepped out, eyes glued to the floor. I watched her leave the building, slow, still wiping her face. Then I went back to the bay, grabbed a wrench, and got under the next car like it never happened. I got to the cafe 10 minutes early and took the booth in the back, facing the door. Ordered a black coffee and kept my phone face down on the table. She walked in 3 minutes late, just enough time to make it feel intentional. Her hair was messy, face drawn, the kind of tired that makeup couldn't fix. She spotted me and came over fast. Didn't sit right away. "Hey," she said. I'm sorry for showing up at your job. That was out of line." I gave a small nod. "Appreciate that." She slid into the seat across from me and wrapped her hands around the mug the waitress dropped off. "Didn't drink it." "I panicked," she said. I don't know. I thought I'd lost you." I leaned back in the booth. "You didn't lose me, Lindsay. I didn't go anywhere. I just stopped chasing." That made her flinch. I saw it. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," she said, voice cracking. "I just needed to breathe. But then, it felt like you disappeared. I did what you asked. You said you needed space, so I gave it to you. You said I was too controlling, so I let go." "I didn't want you to let go completely," she whispered. "I wanted you to fight for me." I raised an eyebrow. "What does that even mean?" She opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. "Let me ask you something," I said. "Are you scared of losing me? Or just scared of being alone?" That landed like a slap. Her eyes dropped to her cup, and her hands gripped tighter. She didn't answer. She reached for my hand across the table. I pulled mine back. She looked up, hurt flickering behind her lashes. "I'm not doing this anymore," I said low. "I'm not going back to a relationship where I have to decode every sentence, where everything's a test. I don't want a partner I have to constantly chase just to prove I care." "I still love you," she said, voice barely there. "I believe that," I said. "But love's not the problem." I stood up and tossed a 10 on the table. She didn't move, just sat there like her whole world was starting to tilt. I didn't make a scene, didn't look back. I walked out the door, let the bell jingle behind me, and stepped into the evening air like I hadn't breathed in weeks. That night, my phone buzzed 17 times. All her. I didn't answer once. By Wednesday, she was waiting outside the shop again, just standing there by the sidewalk, arms folded like that was normal now. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup, hoodie swallowing her frame. I didn't break stride, just walked straight past her like she wasn't even there. She started to follow, but security stepped in. "Ma'am, we can't have people loitering around the building." "I'm just trying to talk to him," she snapped, pointing at me like I was the problem. I didn't stop walking, didn't turn around. Door shut behind me with the kind of final click you only notice when you're done. 2 days later, I was at softball practice. Hadn't missed a game since the split. I was warming up near third when I saw her across the field, standing by the chain link fence like some ghost from the past. Marcus spotted her before I did. He jogged over to her, stayed calm, but firm. "Hey, he doesn't want to talk right now. You need to go." "I just want 2 minutes," she said, tears already threatening. "You had 8 years," he said. "Now's not the time." She stood there a minute longer, then turned and walked off. Didn't look back. No drama. Just gone. Again. That night, her mom called. I let it go to voicemail, but she called again right after. I picked up. "Why are you being so cruel?" she said. "She's hurting. She made a mistake. Don't punish her for it." I took a breath, kept my voice steady. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm listening to what she asked for. That's all I've done since the night she left. She didn't mean it like this." "Well," she never said otherwise until she started losing control of the story, I said. "And by then, I was already out." She didn't respond, just sighed and hung up. Later that night, the final message came through. "I'll do anything. Just don't give up on us." No periods, no punctuation, just raw, rushed desperation. I stared at it for a few seconds before replying. "You told me what you wanted. I gave it to you. I'm not doing this anymore." Then I blocked her number. I didn't overthink it. Just pressed the button and watched her name disappear. Saturday came around and I showed up to Marcus's cookout with a six-pack and a lawn chair. The grill was already rolling, music playing, kids chasing each other through sprinklers. "About damn time," Marcus said, slapping me on the back. "You've been walking around like a ghost for months." "Not anymore," I said, cracking open a beer. We stood around the grill, passing ribs, trading stories, just living. At one point, someone told a joke, nothing that funny, but I laughed, like actually laughed, from the gut. No guilt, no anxiety, just that clean, free kind of laugh I hadn't heard from myself in a long time. Monday morning, I woke up before my alarm. No weight in my chest, no checking my phone, no feeling like I was already losing before the day even started. I got up, stretched, poured my coffee, and stood on the porch barefoot. And for the first time in weeks, hell, maybe years, I felt free. Weeks turned into months, and life just kept going. I stayed with softball, got better, faster, found my rhythm again. Tuesday nights were welding class. I finished the fire pit, started a smoker next. Even started helping the instructor set up before class. Said I had a good eye. Fridays turned into poker nights. Marcus, Tyler, couple new guys from work. Cheap beer, loud jokes, no pressure. I stopped explaining myself. Stopped asking permission I didn't need. Saturdays we'd hike, me and Marcus. Same trail near the water plant. He'd talk about work, his kids, stuff going on at home. I'd just listen, take in the air, the silence. One Thursday evening, I ran into her at the grocery store, frozen section. She was holding a bag of peas, wearing sweats and that Old Navy hoodie I used to steal. Looked up, froze when she saw me. Her mouth opened like she was about to say something. I just nodded once, calm, and kept walking. Didn't feel cold. Didn't feel like revenge. It just felt done. Few days later, one of the guys at work, young kid, always poking, asked, "You ever regret not trying harder with her?" I didn't even hesitate. No. She told me what she wanted. I gave her that. He looked confused, like it wasn't enough. But it was. I'd spent years trying to decode moods, explain myself, guess what was going to set off the next storm. I got tired of walking on glass just to be told I was too loud, too quiet, too much, not enough. That's not love. That's control dressed up as emotion. I realized peace matters more. I'm not bitter. I don't wish her bad. I just don't wish anything anymore. She wanted space. I gave it. She wanted me to chase her. I didn't. And that was the whole point. If someone asks you to walk away just to see if you'll come running back, that's not love. That's a test. I passed by not playing. And I never looked back.